HBO's hit show Game of Thrones ended 2 years ago, but we're still talking about it, and we're going to share with you our top 10 moments from the series.
Jakaris. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ken, and today we're going to be counting down our top 10 moments from the HBO series Game of Thrones.
Yes, and I am so pumped for this. I have been trying to talk him into this for a couple of days. It is probably my favorite show of all time, and I think it deserves some videos made by us.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely say it's our favorite show watching together. It's my second favorite show of all time behind Breaking Bad. But yeah, well, one of our favorite shows of all time. We're going to do a channel talking about TV, talking about movies. We might as well open up and start talking about Game of Thrones, because I know a lot of people out there love Game of Thrones. It's a big show.
Yep. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, so how this is going to work. And before I get into it, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of Married with Media, there's a little subscribe button down there. Hit it, and also hit that like button, and comment down below your favorite Game of Thrones moments, your top 10, your top 5, your top 20. I don't care, however many you want to put down there, and we'll talk about it with you. We'll talk about it with you because we love talking about this show, and definitely want to engage with you all more in the community about the things that we love.
Yes.
How we're going to work this list is pretty much it's going to be separate. So she's going to have her list and I'm going to have mine. We just couldn't do it together. There was too much. We're too different on how we see things. Well, some things are the same, but I have my top 10. She has her top 10. I'm going to go through 10 through 8. She's going to go through 10 through 8. Then we're going to go back and forth in threes until we get to our number one choice. We're going to do some honorable mentions as well. And then we're going to give our number one. So should be a pretty fun time talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first. Okay, so I will just start it off. At number 10, I have when ARYA kills Water Frey and wears his face.
Does that mean ARYA is your favorite character?
Definitely not. We talked about this. I actually did not like ARYA's character that much at all.
Yeah.
But I just remember this being a pretty epic scene, and I felt like it deserved a spot.
Yeah, it was Arya's first arc as like the Batman type character in Westeros. Yeah. She was starting to get her vengeance, which she always wanted. So
I just felt like I just remember being like super surprised, and I felt like also it made sense, all of the building up of the girl with no name, and the different faces and everything. I felt like that kind of just tied it together. Okay, so my number 9 is Dany, Khaleesi, whatever you want to call her. She has many names. When she
so we go from a girl that has no names to a girl that has many names.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So Dany destroys the Lannister troops. So, you know, when I went back, I've been going back and watching.
You've been showing me clips of everything and just like jogging my memory, because a lot of these moments that you picked out, like I just wouldn't have thought, and they're all great moments. They just didn't make my list. Yeah.
So, this one was just a really awesome scene, putting stuff on fire and all that. And so,
and to be clear, we're talking about the Lannister troops.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that one might actually have made my list. But yeah, that's a great scene. It was just so well done. It felt, that was when like the melding of fantasy with like realism really crept into the show, because it felt real. Like it felt like a real war scene. But you were watching dragons just like scorched earth from the Lannister army, and it's a very, very cool scene.
Yeah, for sure. My number 8 is when Dany.
You see why I get confused?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are so many scenes with her and the dragons, and so many like battle scenes, and yeah, you definitely have to go back and watch some like clips to refresh your memory. But it's when Dany destroys the Iron Fleet. Jaw-dropping
That was
moment.
an amazing moment. That was an amazing moment for sure. And that's when the dragons, I think that was probably, we talked about it, because when she gets on the dragon in season 5, because you were talking about that that scene as well. It looks kind of fake. The CGI doesn't look as good. In this scene, like it looks really good. Let's get into my 10 through 8. So number 10 for me is Battle of Blackwater, which is the penultimate episode. Which, do you know what that means? Penultimate?
I don't think
that's
so.
all. It's in reference of the second to last episode. Oh, so it's the episode before the finale of a season of television. This is episode 9, season 2, and this is a moment that I think it's the first big battle of the show. But it gets overlooked a lot now, I think, because there were so many more great ones after. But I got to give it credit because it was the first. And it was also the moment that you actually got to see Tyrion kind of in that leadership battlefield role that was actually really cool. And that's where he gets the scar on his face and everything. So
yeah, that one almost made my list.
Yeah, and it was when we first got to see the wildfire and all the ships blowing up and Stannis' army. And yeah, that was it's a great battle that I think gets overshadowed by other battles, but it's still really cool in its own right. And then number 9 is the hold the door scene with the old Hodor from season 6, episode 6. And this one, it got me emotional. I didn't know I was going to get as choked up over Hodor.
Yeah.
And then it happened with the whole Bran storyline, which for a long time was the most boring storyline in the entire show. Like, we didn't care. Every time they even skipped Bran for an entire season. I think it was like season 5. That's how much the show cared about Bran.
Didn't miss them.
But this moment was so cool because not only were you getting the emotional impact of Hodor's death, but they also introduced some like weird time loop elements.
Right.
They didn't really pay off, and it didn't really go anywhere. I think they kind of chalked it up as weird Bran magic stuff.
Yeah.
But it was still an incredibly impactful moment for me. And you hear the Stark music playing when he's dying.
Right.
It's a really good moment. So yeah, that's my number 9. My number 8 is actually what your number 9 was, and that's the Spoils of War.
Okay.
Which is the episode name, but it's where Dany burns the Lannister army for all the reasons that we discussed, and also just a great moment at the end where Jaime's going at Dany while she's by her dragon. He's going to take her out, and you almost think she's going to die in that moment.
Right.
And then the dragon just like turns his head at the last second.
Yeah, badass.
And then Bronn jumps into the water. That's a great moment. So
yeah,
that's my 10 through 8.
So moving right along, at number 7, I have the Red Wedding.
Great moment. That might end up on my list later.
Yep. That episode, or that scene rather, the moment, and I'm gonna blank on her name, the mother. We talked about this earlier.
Catelyn Stark.
Yeah.
Catelyn Stark.
When she realizes that they're all there to...
Yeah, she lifts up his sleeve and he's wearing chainmail, and it's like the Lannister music is playing in the band in the background, which nobody else is noticing, but she is noticing.
Right.
And
it's like it just hit her, and she like yells out to her son, Rob, right? And at that point, it's too late. So
it's over, and it's that was the episode that everybody was talking about. Like that's the big episode of Game of Thrones, I think, where it reached like its peak in popularity. I think, it definitely got bigger, but I think that was the moment where it really popped.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely not my favorite scene by any means, but I feel like it was still kind of like a pivotal moment in the show.
Definitely.
Because I felt like, although there were many other times where the show made you aware of like where they were going, it was just one of those like, okay, I see what kind of show you are and what you're going for.
Like we said with the Battle of Blackwater, there was many other great battles after. There's many other great shocking death scenes after this one, but this one kind of was the first, really.
Okay, so my number 6 is it Oberyn or Ober? I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
The Viper, Oberyn Martell. Let's say the Mandalorian. That's who he is.
Right.
Mandalorian.
Versus the Mountain. So yeah, that whole scene where, they're fighting, and, you think that Oberyn...
You think he's going to win.
You think he's going to win, but then he gets a little
arrogance
cocky.
Gets the best of him.
And he wants him to admit to... What was it? The raping?
He said, you raped her. You murdered her children. I think that's the one.
He wanted to like hear.
It's a very Inigo Montoya line from Princess Bride. I know you haven't seen Princess Bride, but it reminded me of that.
And then, yeah, it didn't work out for him. And that just scene of him just so easily squeezing his brain.
Yeah.
And just, and his wife, like his wife is just
the scream,
horrified.
The horrifying scream.
Yes.
Yeah, did you rewatch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's a rough one.
It's
it might make my list a little later.
At number 5, I have Joffrey's death.
The Purple Wedding.
Yes. That one to me was just pretty awesome too. You know, Joffrey, he was just the asshole that you love to hate. You know, there were a few of those on the show. But it was just awesome to see it happen.
He was the OG asshole that you'd love to hate.
Yeah, and so just that whole scene of them all together, you know, at the dinner. I think it was a dinner, and you know they're drinking, you know, wine, and they're like, he's being really horrible to Tyrion.
Yeah.
And yeah, just all of that, and you know, Cersei, even when I watched it again, she's like holding him at the end as he's just like choking.
As much as you hate Cersei, it's still a heartbreaking scene to watch a mother have to watch her child die like that. So even though it was Joffrey, but
yeah, I don't remember like feeling sad. Not even watching it again, I didn't feel bad for her. But
and that scene kind of lost a little bit of impact for me because we got it spoiled for us.
Yeah, the internet, or actually someone on Facebook. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. So it didn't make my list, but it's a good moment that I'm glad you have on yours.
Yes.
So my number 7 is the Tyrion courtroom speech, season 4, episode 6, where he basically has to prove his innocence that he didn't kill Joffrey, because everybody thinks that Tyrion had something to do with Joffrey's death. And that's the scene where he just lets loose on everybody and just voices all of his frustrations. He gives no F's about anything. He's just laying it all out there. And just that speech is so raw, and it's such a great performance by Peter Dinklage.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
easily his best scene in the entire show, in my opinion. And it's just fantastic. And I know you said it was kind of weird that I had a monologue as one of my top moments. But
I brought up the scene too, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I need to make a place
when you
for
brought that up, I was like, I got to put that on there because it's one of the best, and it's the reason why season 4 is at least top 2 seasons for me. There's so many great moments in that season, so yeah, and it leads into a great moment that you've already discussed on your list as well with the Mountain versus the Viper. So that's my number 7, and my number 6 is the Red Wedding. Again, season 3. Episode 9, for everything that you discussed. It was just such an impactful moment. I don't think I cared as much about it like when we watched it, because like I don't think we got into Game of Thrones until season 3, and everybody's already talking about the Red Wedding. So I think it got hyped up a little bit too much, and at that time I didn't care as much about Robb Stark. Like, he wasn't one of my favorite characters anyway. So it didn't hit me that way when I first watched it. I think I've grown to appreciate it more over time, and it's definitely a very impactful moment in the series. So, and then number 5 for me is the moment that truly broke my heart in this series, and he is still might be my favorite character of the entire show, and he only made it through 9 episodes, and that's Ned Stark's death, his beheading. And I love Ned Stark. I just love a good heroic character, and he's really one of the only truly good characters on that show. And he died because of it. And him dying lets you know exactly what kind of characters were going to make it through this show. Like, you could not be a good, wholesome character to make it through this show. And that's what he was. But he represented everything that was good about Westeros. And he died for it. And it was a very impactful moment for me. And so much so that I didn't even really feel like watching the show after he died. I didn't really care because he was the character I wanted to see kind of make it through. And it wasn't until later I kind of came back.
My number 4 is, again, featuring a dragon. A dragon scene. It is the dragon Viserion. Viserion's death and resurrection. Just, you know, I think it speaks for itself. That's the scene where he gets taken down by the Night King. You know, he throws that, I don't know if you call it a dart or
a javelin, I think. So did you call it? Javelin? Could be wrong.
You know, throws it, basically hits him right away. And, you know, of course, he's flown down, you know, because Dany's trying to rescue everyone. So he was like a bit vulnerable in the moment. Wait, was he in the air?
Who?
The dragon.
Dragon was in the air.
He was in the air. Okay.
Yeah, he was coming to burn them all, and then the Night King's back there.
So he did hit it from. Okay.
It's I will say it's kind of ridiculous. The visual of seeing the Night King holding a spear, because usually you just see him standing, and kind of seeing him in action.
Well, see, I think it's
kind of looked a little funny to me when I first saw it.
So yeah, just seeing the dragon, you know, fall into, like, crash down, fall into the water, like slowly go under, seeing Dany's reaction, you know, those are her like children. And
you didn't expect it either. That was a very shocking moment.
It was just very sad. And, you know, then just a few moments later when he comes down and he resurrects it and you see his eye like open and it's the blue.
Yeah, that whole episode's
just like,
great.
Whoa, what the F?
Yeah, the whole episode's great, just with all 7 of them, because it's like the Hound and Jon Snow, and it's like Jorah, and everybody's together fighting Gendry with the hammer. Yeah, it's such a great episode.
And then my number 3, we are just calling this "My Reign Has Just Begun."
Another Dany moment.
Another Dany moment, guys. Surprise, surprise. But this scene is just so badass, in my opinion. I just love it. You know, the guy, he just tells her that your reign is over, and she's like, bitch, my reign has just begun. And her, you know, Drogon flies in and lands right beside her, and it's just really awesome. And then, you know, all 3 of the dragons are together shortly after that, and they're like blowing everything up with their fire.
This was her final piece of business in Essos.
Right, yeah.
She took them all out, and she had freed everybody, and then it was time to take them all to Westeros to conquer.
So yeah, I thought that was just an awesome scene. But number 2, I put Battle of the Bastards.
No Dany in this scene. Are you sure?
Well, she's made plenty of other scenes. And so, you know, this was just a really great, you know, honestly, the whole episode, like we just talked about, is amazing. Yeah. A masterpiece. But just something about seeing, you know, Jon Snow, and, you know, just all of it. There was just so much, but like him and the rush of all the people.
He's getting bodies stacked on top of him. And
crazy. It was just so intense and just so like edge of your seat, like, oh my gosh. And so that's my number 2.
It had been built, like it had culminated. Like by this point in time, Ramsay was the villain of the show.
Right.
Like he had taken the Joffrey spot, and arguably he was a better villain. But my number 4 is Hard Home. Which is a Jon Snow moment. I feel like my list leans a little bit more towards the Starks. And I've got the wolf on my shirt. I'm a Stark. I would say she's a Targaryen.
Clearly.
But yeah, Hard Home was just so epic to me. That was the first time you really got to see the full force of the White Walker army. And just when they pull up and they go up on that shore to try to help all the wildlings and get them out of there because they know it's coming. And then you see all the smoke and the fog come over. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the movie The Fog by John Carpenter. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it rolls over the gates, and then you hear them all pounding at the door, and they all break in. You see all the zombies flying off the mountaintop. It's just so cool. And then you have Jon Snow with the Valyrian sword, freaking swipes it through that White Walker. That's the first time it's basically revealed that takes out. Well, the second time. Right. The first was when Sam had the dagger in the White Walker, but that's the first time that it was revealed that Valyrian steel could take out a White Walker.
Right.
So, and it was just such a cool image of him swiping it, and it just shatters. So, and then at the end with the Night King coming out and just raising everybody up, that's so epic to me. I loved it. And then my number 3 is the Mountain versus the Viper. And,
wow, number 3. Okay.
Just for
it's way up there.
The 1-2 punch of just Oberyn Martell's death and the way it happened. It's just so gruesome. It's arguably the most gruesome death on the show. And then you have Tyrion, who's going to be put to death. Like, so not only did one of my favorite characters at the time just die, but then you have one of my favorite characters on the show that's going to be put to death. And then you have Tywin stand up and said, Tyrion Lannister, I sentence you to death. And then they close up on his face, and I just remember being like, I was like, had this pain in the pit of my stomach, and yeah, it was a very effective scene. And then my number 2 is the same as your number 2, and it's Battle of the Bastards for everything you said. And I just remember that shot of Jon standing in front of the horses, and he knows he's about ready to be killed because the army's like way behind him, and he just tried to save Rickon, and he just holds up his sword, and all the horses are coming. It's such an epic shot. Yeah. And yeah, Battle of the Bastards is fantastic.
You had that as like a screensaver on our computer for a long time.
I still would love to get it as like a portrait painting and maybe like put it up on the wall or something. But yeah, I love that moment. All right, so we're going to get into some of our honorable mentions right now, guys, right before we get into our number 1, which is the same, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my honorable mentions is I Told You Not to Trust Me. It's where Littlefinger sneaks up behind Ned Stark. I think that's a great moment. That's the downfall of Ned Stark in the series. And then I'll throw in the wall battle against the Wildlings. I think that's another battle that a lot of people sleep on. And I know I did the first time because it came right after the Tyrion death or the Oberyn death and the Mountain and the Viper, and you really wanted to see what was going to happen to Tyrion. And then they did the entire wall battle after that. So it's an episode that I've gone back and really appreciated. So yeah, I'll throw in the entire wall battle as a great moment.
Gotcha. Okay, so if I'm going to just mention some ones that didn't quite make my list, I would say when the White Walkers bring down the wall.
Yeah.
That was like, you know, we had been building up to that moment, had seen since
the very first scene in the very first episode.
Right. Like they spent a lot of time at one point, you know, at the wall and all of that. So anyway, and I felt like it came down quite easily. So, and then another one I would say is, you know, when Jon kills Dany.
Finally, some season 8 love.
Right.
We didn't know if we'd get some season 8 in here.
Didn't make my list for obvious reasons, but you know, obviously it affected
you greatly.
It did.
You cried. You broke down in that moment.
I was very sad because even though we kind of knew where it was headed, I was really hoping that they didn't decide to go that route. And so yeah, I definitely spent several days, if not weeks, recovering. Guys, there are so many. Like
there's a lot of, we could do a top 100 and they would all be great moments. This was very difficult.
This was extremely difficult. So yeah.
But our number 1 is both of our number 1s is when Cersei blows up the Sept. Winds of Winter, season 6, episode 10. To me, this is where the show peaked. Just that 1-2 punch of Battle of the Bastards and Winds of Winter. It doesn't get any better than those 2 episodes, in my opinion. They're the 2 best episodes of Game of Thrones to me.
Yeah, just what did you say? Like the first 20 minutes of it? It's
the first 20 minutes of the episode. And that's another thing. It doesn't end with this moment. The episode opens with this, and then there's like 40, 50 minutes after that.
Yeah.
And just the music that's playing,
score,
the light of the Seven is what it's called. I still listen to that score every now and then.
Yeah.
And just the build up and just the feeling of dread and just, you know, you lose some character. We lost Marjorie Tyrell, which I know is one of your favorites. And then we lost Tommen, who falls out of the window, commits suicide after, which was impactful in its own way.
That could be a moment itself, yeah.
It's just such a well-directed scene. It's just such a well-done piece of art, and just the actual explosion is just so incredible.
Just like, you know, like Marjorie, like she like put it together. She was like, you know, what was the guy's name? The one that... Yeah,
they put it together. She's trying to warn everybody. Like, she's trying to get everybody out.
I can't think of what his name is. You know, he wears the
High Sparrow.
The High Sparrow, that's right.
Yeah, that's... you know... I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but he's a very notable actor. I just forget.
But she's like... I don't think she intends to come. She's not here. She doesn't intend to be here. And something's about to happen, and we need to get out of here ASAP. And at that point, it's too late. And you just see the...
And it was such a great moment for Cersei, too.
Yeah, just as a character. She's just away, like up in the tower, and she watches it. And
because she was humiliated at the end of season 5, had to walk through the streets naked. And you didn't think that she was going to get her revenge. And then everybody was speculating. She knows where the wildfire is. Something's going to happen with the wildfire. And then something happened with the wildfire, and it was incredible.
Yeah. So... Yeah. So that is our top 10 moments slash episodes, if you will.
Yeah.
Like I said, extremely difficult to make. So many amazing moments in this series. I could make list just based on battle scenes, based on deaths, based on, there's just so many things.
And let us know, and us doing that's going to depend on you guys. So let us know if you like this type of content, if you like this video. If you want us to do more great Game of Thrones content, then leave us a comment down below. Let us know how you like this. Leave us your list. You know, start up a conversation with us, engagement, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and yeah, that's our list.
That's it, guys.
And I guess we'll see y'all later.